Welcome to Taste Buds. I'm Debra Eckerling, goal strategist, writer, and foodie. And today I'm speaking with Amy Dell, founder of Sababa Foods. Welcome, Amy. I'm so excited to talk food with you today.
Thank you. Me too. Thanks for having me.
You're in like so many different parts of the food land. Let's start with where did your love of food come from?
Well, growing up, my father owned a kosher restaurant in New York City. My father is from Israel, and he moved here when he was around 25 years old and immediately got involved in Mr. Broadway. Still here today. He's not no longer involved in the restaurant industry, but my parents got married there. It was just always a part of my life. I waitressed there. But it was what we ate, during the week, with two parents that were working. And I just loved food and cooking. And, my dad would bring me to work with him. And like I said, I worked there. So I always just kind of was a person that like lived to eat. And my dream was always to own a restaurant. Um, and, my dad begged me not to do that because it is a hard industry to be in, especially in New York City. But my background for the last 10 plus years has been in hospitality and events and marketing, kind of food adjacent. So I always loved like selecting the menu for a cocktail party and making sure that everything I selected complemented and had, one seafood item, one beef or chicken item, one vegetarian. Um, and so I really just loved kind of like hosting and whether that was in my own home or planning events. Um, and then recently I decided to start Sababa Foods and kind of just take this on full time and have my own sort of food adventure, which is what I've been doing.
It sounds like a compromise. So it's a food company, not a restaurant. But I have to ask, are you team pastrami or team corned beef?
I'm team pastrami. I mean, pastrami just like melts in your mouth. But I will say, my favorite thing at Katz's, which might be controversial, is the turkey. The turkey is underrated, and it's delightful.
And your connection to Katz Deli is?
Oh yeah, my husband owns Katz's Deli, so he also owns a restaurant. We connected very early on about that as well. When my husband and my father met, one of the first questions my father asked my husband was, would he ever consider making Katz's Deli kosher?
And we know the answer, but what did your husband say to that question?
He's like, maybe I'll think about it." Like, I think it's involved. My husband did make my father his own kosher pastrami, and my father said that it was the best gift he's ever received in his life. So, we make some exceptions for him.
Oh, I love that. I feel like it's the compromise. Okay, don't own a restaurant, but marry someone who has one and create a food brand because you love food so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I'm also a mom of two, so if the two of us owned a restaurant, it would be insane. Um, and in a way, maybe it's a compromise, but I'm absolutely loving it. And the product that I've sort of put forth is a family recipe. So I get to honor sort of like my dad's recipe, what I grew up eating, like this rich tradition and history that it connects to. And I love it. And the product is like a slightly spicy tomato-based sauce similar to a matbucha used to make like shakshuka and fish and chicken, but I've been making chilaquiles with it and I've been making red lentil curry with it. So it's also been really fun to explore how it relates to other cuisines.
And you've got a recipe that you sent us. So what is this recipe and why is this one of your favorites?
My dad grew up eating tuna fricassee, so kind of like, it has a little bit of a Tunisian background, which is where my grandfather on my father's side was from. Um, but really just mixing tuna, canned tuna, and Saturday sauce, putting it on some toast, adding a hard boiled egg, some olives, some fresh herbs. It's just like, it kind of has like the elements of everything that you want in a bite, like fattiness, creaminess from the egg, a little bit spicy, crunchy toast, a little bit of briny elements. Like it's just a really good bite.
And so how often do you make this at home?
A lot. I mean, and my kids eat it too, even though it's a little bit spicy. But I'm constantly now developing recipes for my site, just to kind of inspire people how to use the sauce. Um, and so this was one where, I had this growing up, but I hadn't made it with my product Saturday sauce yet. And I said to my dad, like, you know, do you think I can just like mix it in with the tuna? Or do you think the color's gonna be weird? Or should I just put it on top? He's like, no, mix it in. It's like what I grew up eating. And I did, and it was really good.
And is there like a key to making this tuna like better than any other tuna you've had?
I feel like I adopted this technique from Jennifer Fisher, but when you take the canned tuna out and really drain it fully, you kind of want to like almost smash it down with a fork so that the pieces are very fine and it's not chunky. And that way the sauce is like coating everything and you just have like a really even bite. That's also just my preference with tuna. Like I prefer a more fine tuna salad versus a chunky. So it's up to you.
Well, I think that's the thing with tuna though. You can eat it in different ways and it's almost like a different meal because of texture.
Yeah. And then I also made a pasta salad with this leftover tuna, with fusilli and preserved lemon and pine nuts and also olives. So some of the same elements, but I mean, you could easily also add like spinach and chickpeas, and it was so good.
I love when you can like merge leftovers together. It
Yeah,
it just gives them new life.
exactly.
So how do you do everything?
Well, it's challenging. I think with starting your own business, it's really scrappy, right? Like it's just me and I'm kind of head of marketing, sales, operations. So every day is totally different. Like yesterday, I filmed 8 recipes. So I try to work as efficiently as possible in terms of like, it's a little bit harder for me to film recipes at home when my kids are home, for example, right? So I'll try to take the day when they're in school or with, their babysitter and just be as efficient as possible. And I also suffer from trying to pack way too many things in a day. Um, but sometimes it works in my favor and, we get a lot done. So it's definitely challenging though, but it's exciting.
Do you have any tips though for busy people? Because let's face it, we all are. So they do more cooking at home.
I think that's honestly one of the reasons why I decided to start Sababa Foods and in particular this product. Like, you know, you can make a matbucha at home, right? But this is like we stewed the sauce for you so you don't have to. And sometimes, especially when you're working, you can't fathom the thought of like one more dish, right? So it's like a lot of what I've been doing is developing quick and easy meals, sheet pan dinners. How can I put my sauce in the crock pot with, ground beef and make taco meat, press 4 hours and you go about your day and it's done, right? Like, but aside from developing recipes, it's kind of the ethos behind the sauce, right? Like, this is a product that I can say is a little bit of a shortcut, but you're not compromising on flavor or quality. And so I really like it in that way because when I do tasting events, um, a lot of people will ask me, like, okay, well, how do you use it? I think shakshuka is probably the most obvious thing, but I love to make Moroccan fish with it. And it's literally just any white fish. You could probably also use salmon. Cook it in a pan with the sauce, and you have a meal. And you know what? Sometimes I use instant basmati rice because you just need a shortcut sometimes. And I think there's certain things that you can shortcut on and certain things that you can't. Like there's no shortcut for fresh herbs to like liven up your dish, right? So that is something like I feel like I'm always chopping up parsley and cilantro. Um, but but yeah, I think the whole thing is to try and come up with these meal solutions that make it easy to feed yourself, your family, but also to host. Like sometimes it feels daunting to host a Shabbat dinner for 10 people. You're like, what am I going to make? Um, so yeah, that's kind of why I did this.
And what is the reasoning behind the naming? How'd you come up with Saturday sauce?
So I actually was trying to think of the name, and as I was telling some people around me, friends, coworkers, that I was starting this new venture, I was like, it's like the base of a shakshuka. And then I would get confused looks back at me, and people didn't know what shakshuka was. And some people do, but it was surprising to me that not everybody did. And I also didn't want to pigeonhole the sauce as just a shakshuka sauce, right? Like I said, I use it for Moroccan fish. I use it for like a sheet pan chicken. I use it for so many different things. And then I started to think like Saturday sauce is almost the Jewish version of Sunday sauce. Like it's something you stew for hours, and you use it in so many different ways and formats. So that's kind of how we came up with it.
Now you have to fill me in on Sunday sauce.
So Sunday sauce, like generally referring to like in an Italian family, it's like grandma is making Sunday sauce, tomato sauce stewing for hours that you're going to have on some delicious like spaghetti and meatballs or whatever. But it's kind of just like this really good, simple red sauce. It kind of works too because it's like Saturday and Shabbat. And like honestly, growing up, we had shakshuka probably every Saturday morning. So it kind of just works out that way also. So yeah, we thought it was fun.
And I know shakshuka, it's breakfasty, but it feels like it's a better lunch or dinner.
Yeah, it's heavy. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I think I posted something about it recently. Like shakshuka is so good to have for dinner. I mean, breakfast for dinner, I feel like is always like a fun little treat, but shakshuka works really well because you have this like stewed sauce, you have eggs. There's all these accompaniments, like, an Israeli breakfast, there's always salads galore, right? And like for a lot of people, that's strange for the morning. So it totally works for lunch or dinner. Yesterday I made eggplant shakshuka with an amba tahina, and we put it into pitas and almost made like a sabik, which is an Israeli breakfast sandwich. And like that is what I had for dinner last night. I mean, obviously I was shooting, but I was very, very happy with that dinner.
What is next for the business? What is your vision for it?
I would love to. So first, I think we are going to be coming out with a mild version of our sauce as well as some different sizes. Um, I would love to add additional SKUs, whether that's some complementary products like a dukkha or maybe some version of an instant rice that I would, love to use myself as sort of a consumer. I have a lot of different ideas. I think, you know, I just need to work on right now making sure, as we grow and scale and get larger, that the sauce stays perfect, and stays exactly the way that we want it. And then as soon as we feel that we're there, just adding more products and exploring, what there's demand for.
For you, how is living in the deli/food world?
I mean, I think I'm so used to it. Like, I think that, even when the first date that I went on with my husband, I was like, oh, you smell like pastrami. That's a familiar smell. Like it's just something that I'm used to. Like, I just know what the expectations are of someone owning a restaurant. And then on top of that, like, someone owning somewhere like Katz's Deli. I'm used to it from the way that I grew up, but also, no, it's exciting to be around. I mean, I think Katz's is like amazing in so many ways. People are so connected to it and its history. And I think it's also really fun that, you know, my husband Jake comes from like an Ashkenazi Jewish background. Whereas, my his parents are from Morocco and Tunisia. And so we eat very different food at the end of the day, but it's kind of fun to like mix and match those things.
And what is your ultimate deli meal versus what is your husband's?
I mean, my husband is there every single day, like eating lunch, right? So I think he throughout a week is choosing something on the menu. Every day it's something different. Um, they have some underrated menu items that are very delicious, like a chili. Um, but yeah, I always am a go-to for the fresh turkey. Um, and I don't know, Jake, you'll have to ask him, but I think it's different every single day. Sometimes it's pastrami, sometimes he's eating the tuna.
For me, I think jelly. I think corned beef on rye with mustard and with the coleslaw on the side, which you then put into the sandwich, and then the chocolate phosphate. So for me, that's what deli evokes.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
I'm completely fascinated that you grew up in the deli life, you married into a deli, and now you've got your own food renaissance. So what do you think it was about your upbringing or your life that led you to where you are now, clearly enjoying this moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just am kind of a food obsessed person. Like, I'll just give you an example, right? Like, I've never been a person that's like, working and I forget to have lunch. Like, no, every meal is planned. And it's like, I'm a live to eat kind of gal. And so I just loved cooking and being around food. And I think it's exciting making something that's your own, that people purchase and people love. Like, the fact that I have stores reordering or customers that try it once and then buy 5 jars at a time because they're like, "This is, like, my new pantry essential," like, that's amazing to me? And so I think just being around food, um, like, this was ultimately kind of almost what I was destined to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Where can people learn more about you, get your recipes, and get that wonderful Saturday sauce?
Yes. You can go to my website, www.sababa-foods.com. You can also purchase our sauce on our website or on Amazon or Bubble Goods. We are in 6 stores in New York City locally, as well as some other locations, including we are going to be in Erewhon in California, which we're really excited about, 9 stores. And then you can also check out our social media handle, Sababa_foods. We post a ton of recipes and just fun content and inspiration on how to use the sauce in sort of new and different ways. So, yeah, definitely check us out and follow us.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, Amy Dell, for joining me. Thank you for tuning into Taste Buds with Deb. Don't miss an episode. You can subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or your favorite podcast platform. And if you go to jewishjournal.com/podcast, you can get the recipe and read the article that goes with this episode. And you can learn more at tastebudswithdeb.com. Until next time, let us know. Are you team pastrami or team corned beef? And bon appetit.